let me tell you something curious about birthdays in the modern world. We live in a culture where age is both celebrated and feared. Cake, candles, parties, posts counting down to midnight. An entire day dedicated to the fact that you've survived another year on this spinning rock. Yet some people treat their birthday like any other Tuesday. No celebration, no announcement, no fanfare. You might know someone like that. Maybe you are someone like that. And here's the question that always surfaces. Why? Why would someone choose to ignore a day that society insists is special? It's tempting to think people who don't care about birthdays are simply modest or practical. But that's not the complete story. Beneath the surface, there's a fascinating psychology at work, one that reveals deep truths about self-worth, time, mortality, and the quiet resistance against a culture obsessed with external milestones. See, for some people, birthdays aren't celebrations. They're reminders that time is finite, that another year has passed, that expectations exist about where you should be by now. Because whether we acknowledge it or not, birthdays have become loaded with social pressure. They demand reflection, they invite comparison, they force you to measure your life against some invisible timeline. And yet, those who step away from this ritual are often the ones who've made peace with something the rest of us are still wrestling with. The idea that your worth isn't measured in years, milestones, or moments worth celebrating. They understand something profound. That every day you wake up is already the celebration. You don't need one designated day to validate your existence. Psychologists have discovered something intriguing. People who place less importance on birthdays often demonstrate higher levels of internal validation and lower susceptibility to social expectations. They tend to be less affected by age-related anxiety and arbitrary timelines. In other words, they aren't waiting for permission to feel significant. They already know they are. And in a world obsessed with markers of progress, that's revolutionary. Because let's be real, most birthday celebrations aren't just about acknowledging another year. They're about performance. They're proof that you're loved, remembered, valued. Every surprise party, every social media post, every happy birthday text says, "See, I matter. People care." But when you stop caring about your birthday, something fundamental shifts. You detach your significance from external acknowledgement. You stop needing proof that your life has meaning. You start understanding that meaning isn't given to you once a year. It's something you create every single day. And that's the secret psychology behind people who don't care about birthdays. They've found freedom in ordinariness. They don't hate celebrations. They just refuse to tie their self-worth to a calendar date. It's not about being antisocial or ungrateful. It's about rejecting the idea that you need a special day to feel special. Because when you've lived long enough, you realize how arbitrary it all is. The significance we attach to dates, ages, numbers. The pressure to feel grateful, reflective, or accomplished just because the Earth completed another orbit around the Sun. For some, the indifference toward birthdays comes after a kind of existential awakening. Maybe they once celebrated enthusiastically until one year it felt hollow. They realized that the happiness they felt was temporary, manufactured, tied to external gestures rather than internal peace. So they stopped, quietly. No declaration, just a gentle letting go of something that no longer served them. But here's what's often misunderstood. Not caring about your birthday doesn't mean not caring about life. It doesn't mean they're depressed or disconnected. It often means they've transcended the need for designated moments of validation. There's a concept in psychology called temporal perspective. It's how we relate to time and its passage, And people who don't emphasize birthdays often have what's called a present-focused orientation. They don't dwell on age or years gone by. They focus on now, the moment they're living, not the accumulation of days behind them. So when their birthday arrives, it's just another opportunity to be present, not a deadline for reflection or achievement, not a moment that demands celebration, just a day, like any other. And maybe that's not sadness or denial. Maybe it's a different kind of wisdom. Because think about it. When did we decide that one day out of 365 defines your entire year? When did we agree that getting older requires a party, gifts, or attention? That expectation isn't natural. It's cultural conditioning. It's the product of traditions, marketing, and social norms training us to believe that without celebration, the day loses meaning. But when someone steps outside that system, it's not rejection, it's liberation. They start realizing that joy doesn't need an occasion, that gratitude doesn't require a reminder, that they can honor their life without needing others to honor it first. In that space, something emerges. A quiet contentment that doesn't depend on circumstances, dates, or other people's energy. But not everyone who ignores birthdays is doing it from a place of peace. Some are driven by pain. The pain of disappointment, abandonment, or forgotten birthdays in the past. Birthdays can become emotional landmines for people who associate them with loneliness or unmet expectations. Psychologists call this anniversary effect, where certain dates trigger emotional responses tied to past experiences. For many, indifference is armor, protection against the sting of hoping someone remembers and realizing they forgot. So they pretend it doesn't matter. Not because it truly doesn't, but because caring hurts too much. They'd rather feel nothing than feel overlooked. And ironically, sometimes the people who claim they don't care are the ones who feel it most deeply. They're not absent. They're protecting themselves. They just choose silence instead of vulnerability. There's a philosophical layer to this indifference too. In a world that constantly says, celebrate yourself, choosing not to becomes a quiet rebellion. It's saying, my value doesn't require announcement. They might watch others post birthday countdowns, party photos, grateful captions, and feel nothing but detachment, not judgment, just disconnection from the need to make life a spectacle. Because they understand something others don't. Not every milestone needs recognition. Some of the most important moments of growth, healing, transformation happen silently, unannounced, uncelebrated. And when you've experienced enough of those private evolutions, you realize that being celebrated once a year is meaningless compared to being understood every day. This is where the paradox lives. Birthdays were meant to honor life, yet they often make people feel more aware of what's missing. When you don't celebrate, you stop comparing your life to others. You stop measuring your worth by how many people show up, how many messages you get, how loved you feel on one arbitrary day. You build your sense of value from something deeper, something that doesn't need witnesses. Part of this is also about mortality awareness, knowing that time is limited, but refusing to count it in years. When you're comfortable with your own impermanence, birthdays lose their weight. That's not nihilism, it's acceptance. And ironically, the same people who don't care about birthdays often live the most intentionally. They don't wait for special occasions to feel alive. Every moment is the occasion. They don't need an excuse to celebrate existence. They just exist fully, daily, without needing validation from a calendar. These are the people who've learned that meaning isn't given, it's chosen. And maybe, just maybe, in a world desperate for recognition, their indifference isn't coldness. It's clarity. A reminder that you don't need the world to remember your birthday to know you matter. That sometimes the most liberated thing you can do is to stop waiting for one day to feel special and start realizing that your entire life already is. You know what's interesting? The longer someone goes without caring about birthdays, the more they begin to value different things. Quiet mornings, deep conversations, small acts of consistency. It's as if stepping away from the milestone mentality makes everything else more vivid. Because when you stop performing gratitude once a year, you start practicing it every day. There's a quiet freedom in moving through life without needing designated checkpoints. You're not worried about what you should have accomplished by this age. You're just living, aging, evolving without the pressure of public acknowledgement. And that's something birthday culture rarely allows anymore. But the psychology goes even deeper than preference. It's rooted in how we construct self-identity. Every time society celebrates our birthday, it reinforces age as a core part of who we are. How old you are becomes a label, a category, a limitation. Over time, we internalize this. We start defining ourselves by decades, by life stages, by what we're supposed to have achieved by now. Now imagine someone who rejects that framework. Someone who refuses to let age define them. That's not denial, that's freedom. It takes self-awareness to resist a narrative that everyone else accepts without question. People who don't care about birthdays often have a fluid sense of identity, a psychological trait meaning they don't box themselves into societal timelines. They don't need to be a certain age to feel valid. They don't measure their life against anyone else's calendar. Their worth exists independent of time. And here's what's profound. Research shows that people who place less emphasis on age-related milestones often experience less midlife anxiety and greater life satisfaction. Because when your identity isn't tied to how old you are, aging becomes neutral. It's just change, not decline, not loss, just the natural progression of being alive. You're no longer panicking about what you haven't done. You're present with what you're doing now, and maybe that's the real wisdom. To be whole without needing annual validation. But indifference toward birthdays doesn't always mean enlightenment. Sometimes it hides grief. For many, birthdays became painful after loss. A parent who used to call, a friend who always remembered, a partner who made the day special. And when those people are gone, the day becomes a wound. There's an ache that comes from celebrating survival when someone you love didn't. You start feeling guilt instead of gratitude, emptiness instead of joy. And eventually, some people decide to stop acknowledging the day entirely. Not out of bitterness, but out of survival. They realize they don't owe the world a smile. They don't owe anyone an explanation for their silence. And they don't need to pretend they're happy just to make others comfortable. That's one of the hidden truths of this experience. We've confused celebration with obligation. We assume that to live well, we must celebrate loudly. But real peace doesn't need performance. Some of the most meaningful transformations in your life, the ones that redefine who you are, will happen without fanfare. No party, no post, no recognition. Just you. And maybe that's what those who don't care about birthdays understand best. They know that silence isn't absence, it's presence with yourself. Because when you stop announcing your existence, you start truly inhabiting it. You reconnect with the parts of you that got lost in expectation, your authentic desires, your unspoken truths, your inner rhythm. And that's something almost sacred in today's world. It's not disconnection, it's reclamation. Of course, it's not always easy. There are moments of wondering if not caring makes you seem cold. If people will think you don't value relationships, but with time, you start noticing something beautiful. The people who truly matter don't need a birthday to show they care. They show up on random Wednesdays. They check in when nothing's happening. They remember you without a calendar reminder. And maybe that's what real love looks like. Not the performance of one day, but the consistency of many. Some people say, if you don't celebrate your birthday, you're not grateful for life. But the truth is, the things that make life worth living rarely happen on your birthday. Your quiet victories, your unexpected joys, your moments of connection, they exist everywhere, scattered across ordinary days. And maybe that's enough. When psychologists discuss self-concept, they talk about the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic sources of identity. Extrinsic meaning you define yourself through external markers: age, status, achievements, recognition. Intrinsic meaning your sense of self comes from within. Values, beliefs, character, internal experience. People who don't care about birthdays have often shifted from extrinsic to intrinsic. They don't need the world to mark their progress to know they're growing. They don't need a party to feel celebrated. They feel it in the way they've survived hard times, in the way they've learned to be kind despite everything, in the quiet knowledge that they're becoming someone they respect. They live fully and quietly. And here's the paradox. Those who care least about birthdays often appreciate life most deeply. They're not waiting for one special day. They find meaning in the mundane, the morning light, the laughter of someone they love, the feeling of rain. They are present, and presence is everything. But sometimes that very presence makes them seem strange. People might call them ungrateful, pessimistic, even broken. Yet if you look closer, their indifference isn't emptiness, it's freedom. It's the peace that comes from no longer needing external validation to feel alive. There's a quiet strength in not needing the world to remember your birthday, just understood by yourself. And that's what people who don't care about birthdays understand best. They know that not every personal milestone requires public acknowledgement, that some truths are too quiet for celebration. Because once something becomes about other people's reactions, it stops being purely yours. It belongs to expectation, to social pressure, to performance. And maybe some moments are too personal for that. So the next time you meet someone who doesn't care about their birthday, don't assume they're bitter. Maybe they're just free. Maybe they found peace in knowing that their value doesn't spike once a year and fade the rest of the time. It's constant, quiet, unshakable. Maybe they're the ones who've remembered what the rest of us forgot. That being uncelebrated doesn't mean being unloved. That being quiet about your age doesn't mean being ashamed of it. That sometimes the truest expression of self-love is not needing applause. Because in the end, we're not meant to be milestones. We're meant to be humans. And the people who don't care about birthdays, they remind us of that every quiet, unpressured, beautifully ordinary day.